I am 75 years old, and I need to tell you something that might make you uncomfortable. Working my whole life didn't make me a better man. It made me an absent one. I spent decades believing the same lie you might be believing right now. I'm doing this for my family. I'll make it up to them later. When things finally slow down, I'll be present. I thought I had time too. I thought love could wait. I thought there would always be a tomorrow, until the day I came home and she was no longer there. Nothing I achieved brought my wife back, and if you're listening to this right now, it's because there may still be something you don't have to lose, if you stay until the end. Everyone praises those who work too much. They call it responsibility, maturity, love. They say staying late at the office is proof of character, that sacrificing personal time is the price of building something. I heard that my entire life, and I believed it. Society doesn't teach you how to balance, it teaches you how to endure, to push a little further, to ignore obvious warning signs while there's still time to ignore them. No one ever sat me down and said, "John, be careful, because work will always want more, but the people you love won't wait forever." The message sounds good. Do it now so you can enjoy it later. They just forget to tell you one important part. Later doesn't warn you when it's about to end. I wasn't a villain. I didn't cheat. I didn't yell. I didn't walk away. I was just always too tired, always too busy, always convinced that tomorrow I'd be more present. And that's the most dangerous trap of all, because it looks responsible, but it collects everything in the end. From the outside, my life looked like a success. I worked for decades. I built a career, met deadlines, solved problems, paid the bills, kept everything running. I was the reliable man, the man who didn't fail, the man who held everything together. And my wife, she was always there, patient, present, supportive. She believed in me more than I deserved. I told myself I was doing it all for us, that those extra hours had a purpose, that the stress was temporary, but time kept passing, and the temporary became permanent. This phase will pass became our entire life. I was at home, but I wasn't available. Sitting beside her, but my mind was somewhere else. I answered, but I didn't listen. I promised, but I postponed. And this is the cruelest part. None of it felt serious enough to change, until the day everything became too serious to fix. The turning point didn't happen in one big, dramatic moment. It began with small things, a fatigue that never went away. Doctor's appointments I thought were an exaggeration. Tests I didn't follow up on the way I should have, until the day the doctor asked us to sit down. That kind of invitation that already carries an answer. I remember the room, the white light, the heavy silence between one sentence and the next. When he said the diagnosis, I heard it, but I didn't really understand it. My mind was still trapped in meetings, deadlines, commitments. I thought there was still time, treatment, recovery, a later. But for the first time, time was not negotiable, and there, sitting beside the woman I had shared my entire life with, I realized something that hit me like a punch. I wasn't prepared to lose her, because I had never imagined a world where work couldn't wait. She died a few months later, and nothing prepares you for the silence that remains. Not the silence of sound, the silence of absence. The house stayed the same, the furniture, the objects, the photographs, but everything felt misaligned, as if the centre were missing. I started noticing things that once felt too small to matter. The cup she always used, the way she folded clothes, the spot where she liked to sit and read, and that's when the truth became impossible to ignore. I didn't lose my wife on the day she died. I lost her slowly. On nights I didn't come home early. In conversations I kept putting off. In gestures I thought weren't urgent. Death only made official something that had been happening for years. And that awareness, that's the part that never goes away. The biggest lie I told myself was simple. I'll make it up later. Later we'll travel. Later I'll come home earlier. Later I'll pay more attention. Later I'll be less tired. But later is a promise without a date, and promises without a date are rarely kept. I thought love was stability, that paying the bills, keeping everything in order, being physically present was enough. It never occurred to me that what she wanted wasn't security, it was connection. Work always accepted one more hour, one more sacrifice, one more postponement. She didn't. And here's the hardest part to admit. No one forced me to do this. I chose it. Every single day. I chose what was urgent over what was important. I chose the invisible applause of work over the quiet presence of the person who loved me. And when I finally understood the real cost of that choice, there was nothing left I could recover. What hurts the most today aren't the big decisions. They aren't the obvious choices. It's everything that seemed too small to matter. The dinners I skipped because I'd be home late. The conversations I cut short because I was still working things out in my head. The weekends I promised rest and spent too exhausted to truly be present. She would ask me to sit with her, to talk for no reason at all, to walk just for the sake of walking, and almost every time I answered, "Just a minute. We'll do it later, not now." I never thought I'd one day hear the silence of those words coming back to me. I never thought I'd miss the interruptions, the simple questions, the constant presence I treated as guaranteed. It wasn't fights that pushed us apart. There were no big explosions, just a sequence that lasted too long of small absences. And the problem with small absences is that they don't hurt at the time. They only collect everything all at once in the end. Today, when I think about what I lost, I don't think about time. I think about moments. Moments I traded for things that don't remember my name. There is a truth I learned too late, and I wish someone had told me sooner. Relationships don't end because there's no love. They end because there's no attention. Love doesn't die in great tragedies. It wears away in repeated silences, in priorities turned upside down, in everything we label as necessary to justify our absence. Work didn't take my wife from me. I gave her away. I gave her away every time I chose to be somewhere else while I was at home. Every time I treated presence as something automatic. Every time I confused stability with care. The problem isn't working hard. The problem is believing there will always be time to love later. Because life doesn't take people all at once. It gives warnings. and we ignore them because we're too busy. And when the final warning comes, there is no negotiation, there is no compensation, there is no, now I'll do things differently. Some things can only be lived at the right time, and when that time passes, it doesn't come back. After she was gone, I changed. But this is a kind of change no one should ever have to make this way. I started coming home earlier. I started saying no to things I once believed were unavoidable. I started having time to spare, too much time. Today, my days are calmer, quieter, emptier. I take long walks. I read books I always wanted to read. I have the freedom to choose my own schedule, and none of it feels the way I once imagined it would. Because changing after a loss isn't growth, it's survival. The lessons came, but they came without her to hear them, without her to share them with, without her to live what I finally understood. There's a cruel irony in all of this. Today, I am the man she always needed, more present, more attentive, more available. But I am that man alone. And this is the part no one tells you when you choose to postpone life. Sometimes you do learn, but you learn too late to fix what truly mattered. Now I want to speak directly to you, not as someone who knows more, but as someone who has already lost the right to choose differently. Who is waiting for you today? Who is on the other side of your routine, believing there's still time? You say you're tired, that it's just a phase, that you'll make it up later. I said the exact same things. You call it responsibility, when deep down it's fear of stopping, fear of realizing that not everything taking up your time truly matters. Fear of discovering that you're trading what's essential for something that wouldn't miss you at all. If the person sleeping beside you disappeared tomorrow, what would be left unsaid? What would be left undone? What did you assume could wait? Don't think about grand gestures. Think about the small absences that keep repeating. They seem harmless until they're not. I'm not asking you to walk away from everything. I'm asking you to look honestly at your choices, because one day you will stop. And when you do, it may be too late to return to what truly mattered. So let me be very clear with you. Don't wait for a big change. Don't wait for a vacation, for less work, for the perfect moment. That moment doesn't exist. Do something small, today. Look at the person beside you and truly be there. No phone, no rush, no thinking about what comes next. Ask the question you've been putting off. Listen to the answer without trying to fix it, without interrupting, without running away. If you love someone, show it now, not with promises, with presence. Cancel something that doesn't matter as much as you pretend it does. Say no to an obligation that won't remember your name in 5 years. Say yes to a moment you'll remember even when everything else fades. Because the time you don't use today doesn't get saved for tomorrow. It simply disappears. I am 75 years old. I worked my entire life. I did everything that was expected of me. And even so, I lost something I will never get back. Nothing I achieved brought my wife back. No recognition, no security, no, it was worth it. If I could go back in time, I wouldn't change my career. I would change my priorities. You can still do that. Don't wait until you're 75, looking back, trying to figure out when life passed you by. Some losses make no noise when they begin. They only become irreversible when it's too late. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment saying what you're going to do differently today, and subscribe. Some truths only hurt because they arrive in time.